Hey there, folks. Seth and Ryan here from Go to Market Advisors, bringing you another installment of our series on empowering frontline managers with the essentials they need to be successful. Ryan, care to take us away with the topic for today?
Yeah, so the topic today is time management. Obviously, a kind of broad topic, but we're going to only tackle one part of it today. And so, what we want to provide today is to address the conversation around where you spend your time in terms of whether it's internal folks or external folks. So, the quick self audit that you can do that we would encourage as you kind of walk through this video with us is take a look at your calendar. And over the course of this business week, the majority of meetings you have are those meetings with your internal team, or are those meetings with external parties, ideally, I assume prospects and customers? If the answer to that question is it's heavily weighted toward the customers and prospects, we're going to spend the next 2 minutes here talking about why that can be a challenge. So, the main reason is that when you think about prospect and customer meetings and conversations, they are largely one-off conversations, meaning your investment, your involvement, and your contribution is to one rep and one customer at a time. The problem with that is you only have so much time in the day. And what we hear overwhelmingly from sales managers and frontline managers in general is that you're time constrained, you're super busy, you're doing a lot of stuff. Well, part of the reason for that, and what we wanted to tackle this internal external conversation, is if the majority of your time is spent with external parties, you're not getting the benefit of the entire team's execution. So,
Okay.
what we would encourage.
Pause there, Ryan. So I think that's good. Let's play some real life scenarios. I
Sure.
think I went through my calendar, looked at internal, external. Let's play some real life nuances at you because this is the reality for most managers. Is it's not binary. It's not perfect in any scenario. So
Sure.
here's a scenario for you. How do you think about external and internal meetings as it relates to where the deal is? So if it's an early stage call or a demo or let's say a late stage negotiation, how would you look at your calendar then for that?
Yeah, so I think that's an important consideration. So I think as you look at the types of meetings you're doing externally, it's not that external meetings are bad. I don't want you to walk away with that perspective. What you want to look at is a couple things, not just where in the deal, but what is the role. So where in the deal, if you are later stage in the deal and your rep is pulling you in to negotiate with an executive, or your rep is pulling you in to play a very specific role to speak to the success you've had with other
Yeah.
clients that maybe they don't feel as comfortable talking about, there's nothing wrong with that. You should continue to do that. I'd encourage that.
Yeah.
So in the scenarios where it's late in the process, generally speaking, and you're playing the executive on the phone, those are perfectly fine.
Okay.
If, however, the alternative is true, it's early in the process, this might be the first discovery call, and you're leading the call, that's the problem. The
Okay.
role that you have to play as a manager is a coach. And remember, the rule is the coach doesn't play, the coach coaches.
Okay.
So if your rep is in effect punting their responsibility to you as the manager to do the job of the discovery call or the demo,
Right.
that's a root cause problem that you need to be aware of.
Okay. Second thing to this, bringing up the a manager taking over for a rep. Oftentimes we see it with maybe younger managers who feel like they're still getting comfortable with relinquishing the I'm controlling every meeting. Talk about a scenario where in the market right now is a lot of turnover, new people getting jobs. How do you handle that internal versus external, and especially a discovery call if it's a new rep? When is that break point where you start to relinquish it?
Yeah, I think in many cases my preference is early and often. I'm not a big believer that you can get very skilled at something by watching. I do think there's value in your rep, especially a new rep, hearing the way the vernacular you use, hearing the way you describe things, hearing the types of questions you ask, especially by persona, if that varies quite a bit for your product or service. So I think there's a lot of value there, but your rep has to learn by doing. No one gets good at discovery by listening to it. They get good at discovery by doing it. So I would rather, if you've got 30 minutes to spend, maybe you spend 10 minutes preparing for that call, and then you review the call after the fact, and you spend 20 minutes coaching the call, not
Yeah.
30 minutes doing the call for them.
Right.
So I think the
It's
key exercise is
empowering them to make mistakes as well. I think
exactly.
as somebody who's been a young rep before and had a manager on the phone, you're even more nervous to make mistakes. I'd
Yeah.
rather have somebody critique me after a meeting than be in a meeting and be on edge. And so as you think about that for your team as well, you need to assess that, hey, if this is a brand new sales rep, yeah, maybe you need some more support there. But if it's a tenured rep that's coming in, you probably shouldn't be in that meeting, if at all, right? Let
Yeah.
that person learn them from their own mistakes and then go from there.
And something you should also pay close attention to is, you know, in essence, there's a failure to launch where
Yeah.
someone just gets so dependent on you basically filling in the gaps of their skill set or doing their job for them that they get complacent in their own development and become an anchor to you and your productivity. If every time this person has a discovery call, you have to be on the call, that's a problem because I got to imagine, like most sales managers, you've got 7, 8, 9, 10 people to support. You can't be spending your whole day doing that. So the point of this is take a look at your calendar, look at the allocation of time where it's internal or external, and then to Seth's point, start to identify, is this a good external conversation where I'm negotiating a deal, where I'm fulfilling a role as an executive on the call? Those are perfectly fine. Or to the contrary, is this a situation where I'm kind of doing the job of the rep for them and I need to start consciously stepping back from that and empowering my rep to go do that work for themselves?
Yeah. Well, hopefully this was helpful. This is going to be a part of a couple part series here that we're going to release on time management. This is, I think, one of the ones that we're consistently seeing as kind of a gap for managers. So hopefully this is helpful. Tune in for some upcoming videos from us here shortly. But again, appreciate the time and looking forward to supporting your growth goals.